Hey, we're back with another quick take. This is Nisha and Varun from the Edge podcast for CHROs. We've got a very interesting guest with us this afternoon joining us, Sandipan from HungerBox. Now, before I sort of want to dive into this episode, I'll do two things. One, I'll tell you why this episode is important. And two, I'll give you a quick brief about Sandipan and then we can sort of get quickly along with the episode. Given the fact that back to office is sort of slowly happening across the globe and everything. And we recently also spoke about in one of our earlier podcasts on designing the workplace of the future. Earlier, the trend was, as Sandeepan was just mentioning to us before the call, was the fact that earlier it was, we were trying to bring office to our homes during the pandemic, and now it's going to be the opposite because we're sort of, we as people, our work cultures and everything about us has completely changed. And it's important for us to also have the same experiences, the same ambience in the office. And cafeterias and pantries are huge parts of it, right? So Sandeepan is going to be talking about digitization of cafeterias and a lot of peripheral topics that we'll be discussing in this podcast. So let me quickly tell you about Sandeepan. So Sandeepan is a co-founder and CEO of HungerBox, which is India's institutional food tech leader. He started HungerBox in 2016 with Uttam Kumar. Both of them are extremely passionate foodies and bring about, over 10 years of experience within the F&B sector itself, right? So one of the things about HungerBox is that they clock more than 650,000 daily orders across 535 digital cafeterias that they manage for more than 126 clients in 24 cities in the corporate, education, healthcare, and leisure sectors. So 10 of India's largest 11 corporate organizations who employ more than 10,000, 100,000 staff, there are actually the clients of HungerBox. So HungerBox is really making a huge dent in the Indian, enterprise in the Indian corporate sector, I'd say. So, Sandeepan, tell us more about yourself, and I think we can get started.
Sure. So, quick introduction. Now, I've spent 10 years of my life doing food tech in the B2C space, feeding people at their homes. And then, at HungerBox, which is about 6 years old now, we have been trying to feed people in their offices. Right? So 16 years spread, quite evenly between feeding people in their homes and in their offices. So, yes, very happy to be here and enjoy the discussion between with both of you.
Likewise, I think we are excited because this is, it's a important topic and also something that everybody, this is such a topic that I think you have to pay attention to the nuances, right? While everybody knows that safety and, in cafeterias is important and, you might have to keep your social distancing. It's also a place where you are off guard. You're not going to be wearing your masks, and you're going to be so tempted to sit and talk to people because after a long time you will be meeting people. So I think the nuance of, how to ensure that it's digitized, it's safe, and you're still not missing out on some of the human connect that the pandemic has deprived us of would be fun to know from you. So the question that we want to get into first, Sandeepan, is if you can just tell us, what is really a digitized cafeteria? Like, it's intriguing me to understand a little bit of that. And if you can also delve a little deeper into what, how did you do it before the pandemic and what has the pandemic taught you? And what do you see going forward? I know it's a very loaded question, but if we can start with that.
Sure. No, so obviously, we have the pre-COVID and post-COVID era, right? And I think Varun, beautifully explained our pre-COVID journey, right, where digitization was a vanity metric for a lot of corporates across the country. Uh, but post-pandemic, I think it has now become a necessity metrics, right? So you cannot run large F&B spaces without the intervention of technology, right? And whether it's technology, across the functioning of the premises, right? Not just payments, as we all would understand, but across the function of the entire premises, you need technology interventions to make it safe and easy for people to access. Right? So what we did is just right during when the country was in between the first wave, we launched what we call COVID safe cafeterias. right? And we were able to build and launch it, in the first 3 months, and which has been growing over the last 1 year. In that, what we have tried to do is look at a digitized cafeteria pre-COVID, and then bring in all the necessary interventions required to ensure that there is a COVID-safe cafeteria. Right? And that includes pretty much everything, right? From your ordering experience to even getting entry, to congestion control, to making things completely touchless, to ensuring that there is no crowding up of spaces. The entire process, how do we, through the intervention of technology, make these premises safe for people to use, and make it convenient, is what we have been working towards. And this COVID safe cafeteria suite is something that most of our clients have migrated towards. And as offices start opening up, they have been opening up across the globe, and we see that trend happening in India now. This suite will come in great effect, and will be of great help to corporates to be able to open their premises. So as we all understand that even if I want to get one employee back to office, right, it is my moral responsibility to ensure that the employee is well fed, that he doesn't have to fend for himself, doesn't have to go outside the campus hunting for food, because that's not safe, right? So even if it is one employee coming to the office, I need to provide him food. How do I do that is something that we at HungerBox have been working over the last 14-15 months to address.
So one of the things that sort of arise from this, right? One point that stood out to me was that you're trying to make everything touchless. I think, and the bedrock of that is going to be technology, because technology earlier, like you said, and everything else was a vanity metric. Right now, it's the bare fundamentals. It's where you start things from. And for lay person like me, for somebody who just casually goes to cafes and all of these things, the very first touchless aspect of it is probably just scanning and paying, right, which is the most basic thing. What else have you seen? Like, what is the on ground situation like what is the chain? That's, I mean, what I'm trying to get at is before COVID and during COVID, right, across enterprises and offices of all sizes for that matter, how are they trying to go touchless? How are they trying to get better at implementing the very early nuances of a digital cafeteria?
So cafeteria operations, just for ease of all your viewers, we can break it down into three halves, right? One is man, next is material, which is food here, and the third is the premises where the consumption is happening, right? In terms of man, that's the easiest problem to solve for. And I think all corporates have unanimously agreed that having your vaccine completion certificate is going to be the new normal, right? You would get only entry into the premises once you are able to display your vaccination completion certificate. And I think corporates all across the country, the way they have supported their employees to get vaccinated, it's just a matter of time that everyone would have the vaccine certificates with them. So the man problem is solved, that we ensure that everyone is vaccinated before they enter the premises or are part of this process. The next bit is on the material, which is the food, making of the food, the transport, the delivery of the food. Right? There have been a lot of interventions that have been done. There is the FSSAI norms, which have been updated to ensure that food is bereft from contamination and things like that. And these norms are being addressed, and from the production side of it to the transport side of it to the loading up and displaying and consumption of it, the entire bit is being redone and recreated to be safe. The third bit is on the premises side of it, right? And there, what we recommend our clients is, if you have 0 to 5 or 0 to 10% of your employees back to office, at that point of time, best food consumption is at the desk, right? So what we have done on the platform is change the ordering flow, where as an employee, I pre-order my food, right? So that there is no wastage, and that the food vendor is also able to kind of manage the supply. So I pre-order my food. and mention my desk, right? So at the designated time, packed meals come to the premises and are delivered to my desk, right? And I don't need to, I just scan a QR code and just take delivery of the packed meal. So there is zero, intervention or human contact, right? And then I consume the food. Once I cross the 10% mark, right, and that causes issues of contamination within the work area, and that's when we recommend to restart the cafeteria, right? But restart it with all the interventions in place, right? So the first intervention what we have done is that you can order, you can see what's there as a menu in the cafeteria, you can place an order, but we would place you in a queue, right? And only when a designated number of people are allowed in the cafeteria, so only when your turn comes, you get an activated QR code with which you are able to scan and get entry into the cafeteria itself, right? So we are controlling the flow of people entering the cafeteria, right? And we are kind of distributing it throughout the day. So at no point of time is it crowded, as well as it is still accessible, right? And so people are able to get an active QR code. Once the turn comes, they scan it at the entry gate, go inside, scan it, collect their food, consume it, and leave the premises, right? So that's how all these three aspects are being addressed today.
I'm just trying to imagine what this would look like, right? Did you, I'm curious to understand when before the second wave, people were opening out a little bit, and all of that was happening. So, did you see any of this actually happening, Sandeepan? And what was the response from clients? And also, were these SOPs given by state governments, or is it that HungerBox is putting these SOPs together?
Yeah, so I can tell you from the sample size of about 14 lakh people who have been customers of HungerBox, who have downloaded the app, and at any given month we have about 11 lakh active users, right, placing about 6.5 lakh food orders, right? So that's the sample size that we have, and I can share data around that, right? So around April of last year, this number fell directly by 95%, right? So about 3 to 5% people were coming to offices who are, are unnecessary essential service staff who need to keep the lights on in the office premises, right? So those were the ones who were coming in. From October onwards last year, we slowly saw a trend of people slowly starting to come back, and then the January, February, March quarter, that number went up to as high as 30%. Right, so 30% people came back to offices, and then we all were quite relaxed that the worst is behind us, and then again the wave two happened, and then again from April onwards we are back to the wave one time, where again 95% people are not coming, right? So it's around 5% occupancy rate right now, right? And the way we project and what we hear from all our 126 clients, all the 550 cafes that we manage, we are in constant touch with all our clients. What we hear from them is that there will be a very slow, gradual process of this 5%, reaching about 10 to 15 to 20% from now till about September of this year. And then from the October quarter onwards, that's where real action will happen, and all companies are putting together a roadmap of how they would start. Once all employees are vaccinated with both the doses, from October onwards, they will start having employees start coming back to the office premises, and maybe end the year at around 40 to 50% occupancy. Right? So that's the trend, or this is what we hear from the industry, from the clients that we serve today.
Very interesting stuff, Sandeepan. So one of the things, right, which I think is sort of, and I'm speaking purely from the F&B sector at this point in time, is the fact that, look, before there were a lot of, I mean, people who subscribe to HungerBox or to your competitors or anything of that sort, during the pandemic, a lot of them were also first-time customers because the restaurants were closed and people had to do a lot of takeaways. And same thing in offices as well. Like you had to get things delivered right to your desk as well. So you had first-time customers. You had customers who were older ones but switched and went to another person where they felt a little more safer as well. So keeping these different categories of customers in mind, right? How do you think the menu, the packaging, all of these things, the branding itself, right, the positioning itself of certain brands, how do you think they can be reinvented? Basically, I'm talking about service innovation. What do you think will happen, right, just to make sure that there's increase in loyalty, there's more footfall coming back, and there are more orders increasing? Things that digitization is not something to be afraid of, in the sense, a lot of people, because I feel that because of these added SOPs, like for example, like you mentioned, right, like in the moment QR code generation and like all of these things, just to control the congestion, just to control all of these things, right? I think that could scare a lot of people, that hey, this another extra layer of burden on me, because hey, I've already spent the pandemic managing my losses, abhi ye bhi karna padega. So how do you think digitization is something that can be used as a tool, basically, right? So for service innovation is what my question is.
Sorry, and I have a follow-up, Sandipan. What is the budget for digitization like as well, right?
Exactly.
That's an important one to also talk about, I think.
Yes. So, the entire digitization process in our country has been accelerated by about 10 years during this last 1 year, right? So what companies set out as digitization targets for to be achieved over the next 10 years was fast forwarded to this 1 year, right? And technology adaptation, in our in the entire country has been phenomenal, right? And especially the corporate employees that we address. So about 3.5 crore of corporate employees in India today are extremely tech savvy today, right? Everyone knows how to use an app, everyone knows how to use payments, etc. Right? So it's about just packaging and making things easily available, easily understandable, and as you said, being able to manage public opinion and put it on your side that hey, we are here to help, we are here to streamline. Coming back to office is not a choice. We will have to eventually come back to offices, right? Like I'm dearly waiting for my daughter to go back to her school, right? We are not enjoying online classes, so are offices. So A, people will have to come back to offices. B, when they come back to offices, they have to consume food, right? And between all options of food consumption, consuming food provided in a safe cafeteria environment of your office is the best choice. And how do I ensure that that's the best choice is what is the responsibility given by clients to us, right? And the only way to ensure that there is safety and security of everyone involved is through interventions, right? So pre-pandemic, companies might be soft and say that okay, there are certain set of people who do not want to digitize, who do not want to use an app, I'm not used to this, have a feature phone, etc., etc. I think though that kind of a resistance or that kind of a noise has withered away, and people understand that running these safe premises requires tech intervention, requires digitization. It's not a choice. It's the only way you can manage hundreds and thousands of employees coming under one roof, consuming food. That can only be kept safe is only through these interventions, and I think HRs and administrators across the spectrum are now putting their foot down and saying that yes, we will ensure that these are made mandatory and that people follow that for everyone's safety, right? And I think people are also matured. The learning curve has come about in our country for us to kind of brace these opportunities. And I'm happy to mention to all of you all that India is leading the way in a lot of all this, right? If you look at COVID, which we are now giving 20 other countries to use, digital payments, where India is leading 10x, China and US. what we have put together, the entire digital cafeteria suite, nothing of this sort exists anywhere in the world, right? So I can very proudly tell you all that, this is an innovation out of India, where we competitors of ours, we are not just doing this for our own Indian corporate companies, but also doing this globally, right? So these are these innovations and tech interventions that are going to be the new normal, and we are happy to be leading this not just in India but globally.
Actually, it'll be so interesting. I was just thinking that, on that if we have APIs, say for HungerBox, you already know who's vaccinated. And I know it's a little like we are getting into this whole data privacy thing, but if we're able to kind of track a person better, and just for the pandemic, make it a lot more, let's say, detailed, or where you have enough data to kind of track a person. I think it'll be so much better to kind of understand how the pandemic is going. So it's in a way a very digital pandemic as well. The better you are digitally, the better you are at handling the pandemic.
Nisha, I'll give you one quick example, right?
Mhm.
In between the pandemic, almost all companies set up their SOS team, right? Helping employees. One of the services was to provide food to COVID positive employees, right? And we were very happy and proud to partner with multiple companies where we became the F&B partner. So as an employee, if I'm COVID positive, I just upload my COVID positive certificate, and the entire team registers me out, takes my address. So our platform does all that and starts providing food at your residence, right? Your breakfast, lunch, your dinner, high immunity food items, which help you during recover from COVID. So we were able to partner with a lot of our clients and provide this food to these COVID positive employees at their homes, right? One of the biggest services I think that any corporate can do for their employees, right? And a lot of companies signed up for it, and we were able to serve a lot of employees across the country, right? So all these initiatives and things like that cannot be done if it is not done digitally, right? Imagine doing this entire exercise if it is not digitized, if I don't have the required platform to be able to do something of scale and size.
That's pretty interesting, actually. So, before we sort of wrap this, quick take up, Nisha again did a wonderful job in just terming this as a digital pandemic, and the more digitally savvy you are, and the more sorted you are on that front, the better you are at combating this pandemic, right? Uh, Hungerbox again, one of the things that's been very innovative when it's trying to also do a lot for this entire sector. Keeping all of these two things in mind, right? One of the things I think our audience would also like to know is that how can HungerBox as a company, right, help companies again of all sizes play on the front foot better? Like, what are your services? What can you help companies with? Can you talk a little more about that and how people can reach you as well too?
Sure, sure. Yeah, so two parts to our company, right? So we are a food tech company. So food comes along with the technology. So on the food space, we are pretty much doing the entire bit, right? So we are helping clients, address any of the F&B requirements, whether it's a packed meals, whether it's setting up a small tuck shop in your premises, whether it is about a vending machine that you want to set up, providing food 24/7, whether it is running an entire cafeteria, with Bain Mary services, the entire works around food, right? And whatever size or scale the operation would be, right? There are premises we are operating with double-digit, food sales happening, right? But we are able to, kind of help and address this, because as I mentioned, right, doesn't matter if it is one employee or 100 or 1,000 employees, F&B needs to be provided to employees, right? That's a responsibility we owe them, right? So we are helping clients address the food side of it, and on the technology side of it, we are working with all the top tier companies, designing customizing the entire offering. So we have, starting from the employee getting picked from his home, technology interventions there, to him getting to his office premises, to him getting, a seat allocated, of his preference, for his food to be delivered to his desk, or in a safe cafe, for him to, exit and leave the premises, right? The entire journey is being digitized. We are working, we are very privileged to be working with a lot of, top tier clients, leading or being their hands and legs to execute a lot of the vision that all of them have for their employees. And if you have, and if you're looking for a service like this, we are easily available. We have our website, hungerbox.com. You can just come in and put in your details, and we would get in touch. I think that's the most convenient way of quickly getting in touch with us.
Thanks a lot for sharing that. So everyone else, I'm going to be linking Sandipan's, LinkedIn and Hunkerbox's website in the description as well. Feel free to get in touch with him. And thanks again for being a part of this episode, Sandipan. It was great talking to you. This is definitely one of the most hatke episodes that we've done in the longest time. And I think that this is very important to discuss as well, right? So I hope you guys have also enjoyed watching this. Subscribe to our newsletter, follow us on LinkedIn, and we'll be back with another quick take, another podcast next week as well. Thanks a lot.